Koikimedia, live from Benin Republic, point of no return. Share the program and invite others to do so as well. As we continue to give us everything unique about Africa and what played out during the colonial era, we would like to appreciate once again the people of Benin Republic and the government of President Patrick Talon. Point of no return in Benin Republic is known as the door of no return. When you get to that door, you are not likely to return back home, and you become extracted into one of the slaves that will be taken to Europe and that will be taken to other continents away from Africa. As we know, the door of no return, as we have a similar one in Nigeria called point of no return, this one is known as the door of no return, Le Porte de Noto Ratour in French, is a memorial in Ouidah, Benin Republic, that marks the point where enslaved Africans were forced onto slave ships. And this is just one out of many memories that Africans have had to endure, experience, due to the fact that slave trade was something that we will never forget. And this is why Koikimedia have decided to come closer to the door of no return, so that we can be able to understand the magnitude and the effect of what actually played out during this period. Is a memory that many of our forefathers, our mothers, have already experienced. And we would like to remind many of us that this is something that is very painful to be remembered. Once again, as we say all the time, Koikimedia, we bring it closer to your doorsteps, and that's exactly what we are doing today. The 4th day of the month of March 2025, Ouidah in Cotonou. Ouidah is just about an hour away from Cotonou, while we continue to give you fanfaneyomo Yoruba tí ẹ̀ ń gbọ́ wa. Níbí báyìí ni the door of no return. When you get to this door, that is the final journey, and you're not likely to return back home. And right there and there, as you can see, is an history that many of us might never understand the damage of what played out during the colonial era. But we are here to show you, and that's exactly what we are doing right now. It is something painful, and it is something that many people had to experience during that era. My name is OLAYOMI Koiki. As we continue to showcase many of of the atrocities that took place during the period of the colonial time. And what we're watching right now is just one out of many atrocities that was committed by the colonial time in Africa. And even as we speak till date, many Africans are still enslaved as we continue to look for greener pasture out of our own continent. But one thing we can talk about is that the future of Africa is now in the hands of the new generation of Africans. And if we do nothing now, the next generation would have to ask questions why we have not done so much to rescue Africa. As we know, we are saying this because we know, as many of us that have traveled out of Africa for 25 years and returning back to experience this is something that many of us continue to ask questions. What more do we need to do to convince many Africans, Yorubas, and many others that we can do it in this generation? We can rewrite our identity. We can tell the world how we feel. The damage of the slave trade on our lives. The damage of the slave trade is still affecting most part of Africa today. 1884, as we have talked about it many times. Most of these part of the world were all divided by those that never understand our culture, our identity, who we are. And today, that is what we are currently facing in Nigeria, where many different indigenous people were marched together in 1914 by Ouidah. Until date, we are still experiencing that there is no collaboration, there is no unity, and there is no union between many people that are called Nigerians. And until we return back to what and where we are before the 1914 amalgamation, we will continue to be slaves for the Europeans, the Americans. And this is the reason why we say thank you so much to the President Patrick Talon back as a reminder for this generation that we need to stop what was created. The amalgamation expired in 2014, and there's no need for us to continue with that fraudulent amalgamation known as Nigeria. Nigeria needs to be divided, and there's no doubt about it. The 1914 amalgamation expired in 2014. The Yorubas are different from the Hausas are different from the Igbos. All the indigenous people need to live separate so that we can have a peace. But until then, there will be more trouble. There will be more crisis. And as you can see, the funding of terrorism by many of the Europeans has led to why many of us had to flee. Imagine what our forefathers, our mothers, had to endure during when they were moved during the colonial time from this passage straight into the sea, where ships were all ready to take them out. Taking them to where? Taking them to different parts of the continent as slaves. But today, many of us have decided to travel to Europe, like I did 25 years ago. Travel to United Kingdom looking for greener pasture when the beauty is right here in Africa. The weather is beautiful, the resources are there, but most of these resources have been stolen. We have told you continuously on our broadcast that many resources left Nigeria in more than trillions of dollars. And today, we are saying that under the leadership of Professor Adebanji Akintoye, that the only option left for the Yoruba people is to exit Nigeria peacefully, and that will give us and return us back to who we are. We will never forgive those that created these, and forget. But the only way we can remind ourselves is when we look at these images and see how our fathers, our mothers were moved from the continent. And today we are still being looked as the second generation of slaves in Europe. The fully continent is there. And one day we need to remind ourselves is that the work is not yet finished. So when we talk about the damage that has been done on our lives, these are damages that we must continue to talk about. And that is why we are here today in Ouidah, where we are currently, giving you, for those of you that have never visited this place, many of you might not understand the magnitude and the damage that has been done. We can rewrite the history, or we can leave it. Fanfani gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá tó ń gbọ́ mi. Eléyìí la ṣe ń sọ fún ara wa pé Bàbá Akíntóyè ti sọ̀rọ̀ tán. Ọlọ́run jẹ́ kó sọ̀rọ̀ tán. At 90, an historian that started writing articles nípa ìran Yorùbá láti 1970. Ìwé yẹn ti wà available fẹ́yìn tí ẹ bá fẹ́ ìwé yẹn tí ẹ fẹ́ rà. Bàbá yẹn ti sọ fún wa pé wàhálà tí àwọn òyìnbó kó wa sí òun náà ni a ṣe ń jèrè ẹ̀ nínú Nàìjíríà lẹ́nu. Tí a bá fẹ́ jèrè ayé wa, tí a fẹ́ rí ayé gbé, a gbọ́dọ̀ fi Nàìjíríà sílẹ̀. A gbọ́dọ̀ jẹ́ kí ìtàn pè ní Nàìjíríà kó kúrò nínú ayé wa nítorí pé many of what tí à ń wò lẹ́nìí òun ni ibi tí wọ́n gbé àwọn bàbá ńlá wa, àwọn ìyá ńlá wa tó gbé wọn gbà. Ìdí tí a ṣe ń pariwo pé ká dá dúró kò mú ìjà dání. Tá bá dá dúró, a lè rewrite history yẹn padà. Identity wa tí wọ́n jí lọ ní 1914 tó fi ń pè wá ní Nàìjíríà, a lè dá padà. Ìyẹn la ṣe ń sọ pé nígbà tó bá ti ní ká jáde láìpẹ́ ìfúnrálì, ẹ jẹ́ kí gbogbo wa ká jáde. Ká fi ẹ̀dùn ọkàn wa hàn. Ká sọ fún àgbáyé pé àwa àti Nàìjíríà àṣepọ̀ yẹn kò ní dán mọ́rán mọ́. Kó tó di pé a máa lọ, mo fẹ́ kẹ́ wo mi dáadáa. Tó bá ti gbọ́ mi lọ́wọ́ èèyàn ní any opportunity mọ́. Ẹ rántí pé rúgà ìtọ́ fẹ́ ṣe ni pé wọ́n fẹ́ gbọ́ mi lọ́wọ́ wa. Omi tẹ́ ń wò yìí, àwọn ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ìlú kan ní. Àwa làwa ní omi tó gba gbogbo Benin Republic tó lọ sí Togo, Sierra Leone. Omi yìí jẹ́ nǹkan tó wà vital. Ṣé nǹkan tó ń bẹ láti omi yẹn la fẹ́ sọ ni àbí nǹkan tó ń bẹ lórí ẹ̀? Àǹfààní tí omi yìí lè ṣe fún wa, generations and generations will enjoy it. But àwọn kan ti ní àníyàn, intention láti fẹ́ gbalẹ̀ yẹn mọ́ wa lọ́wọ́. But àwa ni ká sọ fún àwọn tó fẹ́ gbà pé a nígbà kó gbà mọ́ wa lọ́wọ́. Kó tó di a bá parí ẹ̀, mo kí bàbá mi ọmọ Adéyẹmọ Olóyè Sunday Igboho. Mo kí ẹ dáadáa fún iṣẹ́ takuntakun tí o ta wá lómi jí nígbà táwọn Fúlàní bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí wọlé tó ń pa wá. Tó ní kí gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá dìde, kí a má jẹ́ kí ìyà táwọn baba ńlá wa, ìyà tí wọ́n fi wọ́n jẹ kó má bàa lọ gbé. Ó dìde lóòótọ́ àmọ́ wọ́n lé ẹ kúrò nílùú. Àwa mọ̀ pé àwọn tó nílẹ̀ Yorùbá wọn ò ní fẹ́ sílẹ̀ wá dúró tiẹ̀ bó ṣe dúró ti bàbá wa Professor Adébánjí Akíntóyè. Lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí mo kí President Patrick Talon látara pé ní ọdún mẹ́ta bàbá wa Ìgbòho àti Professor Akíntóyè fi wà nílùú Benin Republic tí wọ́n fún wọn sí bíbáyìí tó ń fi iṣẹ́ ẹ̀ṣọ́ wọn. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ gbogbo àwọn ọmọ ìlú láti Àjàṣẹ́ dé Pòbẹ́ dé Kétu ní gbogbo Benin Republic títí dé Togo, Côte d'Ivoire, Ghana àti gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá tó bẹ nínú. Orúkọ tèmi náà kò tí yí padà, òun náà ni ẹ mọ̀ sí Koikimedia, bringing the world closer to your doorstep. Wọ́n ní kẹ́ túbọ̀ support iléeṣẹ́ yìí kí a lè túbọ̀ tẹ̀síwájú torí iṣẹ́ wà tí a fẹ́ fi wọ̀n wá nínú Áfíríkà. Èyí tá a máa fi wọ̀n wá ní Europe, ní UK tí mo ti gbé, ìyẹn náà tó gẹ́. Ẹ jẹ́ ká fi Áfíríkà wọ̀n wá so that kí ìyẹn lè jẹ́ kí àwọn ọmọ wa ta bí sí Amẹ́ríkà, sí Canada, kí wọ́n lè mọ̀ pé àwọn lè padà wá sílé. Ilé ni ààbò ìsinmi oko. Èèyàn lè kọ́lé sí Benin Republic, èèyàn lè nílé sílẹ̀ Yorùbá, ó lè nílé sí Togo, àmọ́ Nàìjíríà ò lè work. Ìyẹn àti sọ On that note, ibi tá máa fi sílẹ̀ ní káwa náà lè reflect ká lè tọrọ àforíjì fún àwọn tí wọ́n tà wá torí àmọ́ báwọn kan náà ló wà lára àwọn tí wọ́n tà wá fáwọn ìbò yẹn Ọlọ́run àforíjì gbogbo àwọn tó gba bíbá kọjá tí wọ́n fi di pé wọ́n gbé wọn lọ tó ti di pé nísìnyí àwa là ń wá visa tàbí fi lọ sí oko ẹrú míì oko ẹrú ilé ìwọ́ fọ́ọ̀sì wọn lọ ni àwa là ń ra ticket là ń wá visa là ń fi lọ nísìnyí tèmi náà ṣe lọ mo kí àwọn backend tèmi tán ṣiṣẹ́ dáadáa torí ọ̀tọ̀ lẹni tó máa di kámẹ́rà ọ̀tọ̀ lẹni tó drive wa ọ̀tọ̀ lẹni tó máa produce gbogbo ta fi ń jẹ́ kí ẹ̀rí lè wò kẹ̀yìn náà wá support wa kí a lè rí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ṣe. Koikimedia, bringing the world closer to your doorsteps.